are working on a mixture of problem-based learning with project-based learning. Students were given a problem, an essential question to start with, that was a premise of creating a virtual game board that they had to come up from scratch. They could borrow ideas from other types of games that they liked, but they had to make them their own. They could not just copy and paste them over into their own projects.
Doing our project, we called it The Real Deal, and we got 6 of these little character pieces, I guess, and we're going to be going around the board until we get to the very center. And we have 3 different carts, and we'll have different kind of questions like math, science, and social studies.
The components of project-based learning. First, project-based learning asked you to come up with the big idea. So what was the big idea in this particular project?
In this one, the big idea, I would say, was focused on a team of students creating a marketable game that would be successful out on the public market.
Do you think you have a successful game design currently? Do you think it's going to be very successful on the market, and why?
I think it's going to be very successful because it's more original, and we didn't really use much of another game's design, but we basically based it off of one of our favorite topics.
What was the essential question, and how did it drive the rest of the project?
The essential question was, how will you create a virtual game board that has only physical point-to-point movement?
What are you working on today?
A virtual game board with physical point-to-point movement.
The essential question was asking ourselves how to create a virtual game with physical point-to-point movement.
The essential question was that we had to have everything virtual, and the only thing that could be physical was the actual point-to-point movement.
Students start off with coming up with an idea. Once they had a general idea of what their game was going to be about and what they want to do with it, they had to come up with a rough draft of how it would be designed on the game board.
Well, basically, we just started throwing out ideas and see what sounded good.
We used the app Visualize, right? And we just drew out how we wanted the game to look like, and drew out some more ideas of how it should be played.
The name of our game is Colosseum Conquest.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about the design and what you're putting together now?
The design we chose because we are doing during the Roman times. So we tried to find a background that would best fit it. And we are trying to find other ways to make it more of the Roman theme.
One of the things the students were assigned was a rubric to go along with their project. So it's just opening a project open-ended, saying create a great game board and run with it. It could be very open-ended. So we had to have some guidelines put in place for them to focus on so that they met the assessment criteria. The areas they had to focus on are rules, creativity, attractiveness, accuracy of content, and knowledge gained. There was a level of 4 in each one of those and defined throughout the actual rubric.
Where's it? Okay, draw an arrow. Oh, okay, arrow.
Well, we need
Just what if they go right here and they just go right here?
Yeah, but we'll need a Sharpie for that.
Hey, just trace.
Then get a Sharpie from the office
just
or whatever,
trace.
or from the
Just
teacher.
trace it right here. Trace the path, because it goes here, right?
I don't think that's legit. I think you can just try arrows on it.
Yeah, I think it looked better with arrows.
Just start, finish, and then what? Yeah, it was already right there. Just little arrows. And you can number them too.
Oh, true.
Yeah, so this is arrows for Sharpie.
How do you play this
Yeah.
game?
Oh, I'll figure out.
That you're going to tell me.
Any kind of digital literacy skills that they had to experience before they could actually create this virtual game board?
Students were trained on the creation of QR codes using QR Code Monkey, I believe is the website we use.
No, I think it'd be easier just to do an arrow. But you can number them too, but put arrows in between them so you can see.
They were also trained in using the Erasmus Studio to go through and create the layers necessary to have a channel and content enabled online for them to interact with. They had to use an online test generator so that they could have immediate feedback for the questions that they would create for their content.
What are you working on?
I'm editing some of the questions for our test at the end of the board game.
We made a website, and it was through Weebly. We had all the questions on there. We made it one page for each question, and then for the rules, we made a telegami, so they wouldn't have to read the rules, and it would just read them to them.
They were to use the rubric to read through each one of the different levels so that they can identify how it was best suited for their project to meet the needs of the rubric so that it followed through with it. So it's essential for the students to read through it completely and understand the different levels so that they could achieve the mastery level in each of the different areas. Once we were done with the initial training, most direct instruction was absent from that point on. It was mostly facilitation.
Okay, and you named your game what?
B&M,
Why did you call it B&M?
because her name's Brianna and I'm Miranda, and B&M.
Okay, is that the name of your company, or is that just the name of the game?
That's the name
Of the game.
of the game.
All right, do you have a company name? You haven't come up with that yet, huh?
Can it be the same as the game board?
Sure can.
Then it's the same thing.
All right.
But you also didn't want to lead them in a direction that would change the outcome of their projects. You want to leave that original. So you have to leave some of the questions they asked a little bit unanswered or open-ended so that they still had to think about it, what they wanted to do. So they didn't just ask you for help and take your idea and run with it. You wanted them to be able to think for themselves and come to a solution to their problems on their own without always refer back to you with what they might need to do.
A challenge that we had to overcome was trying to figure out a way that we could incorporate everything into the game board, like all the QR codes and everything virtual instead of having it right there in front of you, and just trying to figure out a way that that we could keep the game board on track instead of having it just lead off into random different spaces.